Hey guys, I'm here to talk to you about the first metal band I ever listened to back when I was in grade 6. This album changed my perspective on music, most likely formed the noble, knowledgeable metalhead I am today. So take a seat, relax, go to the washroom, wash your hands, grab a bag of popcorn, because this video is going to be an estimated 12 minutes because there's so much that can be told about Metallica. Of the founding Big Four of thrash metal alongside Slayer, Megadeth, and Anthrax, Metallica formed in 1981 when James Hetfield responded to an advertisement that drummer Lars Ulrich had posted in the local newspaper. Since 2003, the lineup features rhythm guitarist and vocalist James Hetfield, drummer Lars Ulrich, lead guitarist Kirk Hammett, and bassist Robert Trujillo. Previous members of the band are lead guitarist Dave Mustaine, who went on to found Megadeth, bassist Ron McGovney, Cliff Burton, who has passed away, and Jason Newsted. The band also had a long collaboration with producer Bob Rock, who produced all of its albums from 1990 to 2003, and served as a temporary bassist between the departure of Newsted and the hiring of Trujillo. The band earned a growing fan base in the underground metal community and critical acclaim with its first 4 albums, with their third, Master of Puppets, described as one of the most influential and heavy thrash metal albums. Metallica achieved substantial commercial success with their eponymous 5th album, also known as the Black Album, which debuted at number 1 at the top Billboard 200 charts. With this release, the band expanded its musical direction, resulting in an album that appealed to a more mainstream audience. In 2000, Metallica was among a number of artists who filed a lawsuit against Napster for file sharing the band's copyrighted protected material for free without any of the band's consent. That tidbit of information is pretty cool, actually, because I play chess on a regular basis with the guy who owned Napster, John Fanning. But a settlement was reached, and Napster became a pay-to-use service. Despite reaching number 1 on the Billboard 200, the release of Saint Anger in 2003 alienated many fans with the exclusion of guitar solos and the steel-sounding snare drum. A film titled Some Kind of Monster documented the recording process of Saint Anger and the tensions within the rock band during that time. In 2009, Metallica was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Metallica has released 9 studio albums, 4 live albums, 5 extended plays, 25 music videos, and 37 singles. The band has won 9 Grammy Awards and has had 5 consecutive albums debut at number 1 in the top Billboard 200 chart, making Metallica the first band to do so. The band's eponymous 1991 album has sold over 16 million copies in the United States, making it the best-selling album of the SoundScan era. Metallica ranks as one of the most commercially successful bands of all time, having sold over 110 million records worldwide. Yep, that's a lot of records. And Metallica has also been listed and ranked as one of the greatest bands of all time by many magazines, including Rolling Stone magazine, which ranked them 61st on its list of top 100 greatest artists of all time. As of December 2012, Metallica is the 4th best-selling music artist since the SoundScan era began tracking sales on May 25th, 1991, selling a total of 53,642,000 albums in the United States alone. In 2012, Metallica formed an independent record label called Blackened Recordings and have acquired the rights to all their studio albums legally. What I'm going to talk about is Metallica from 1990 to 1993. In October 1990, Metallica entered one-on-one studio in North Hollywood to record its next album. Bob Rock, who had worked with bands such as Aerosmith, The Cult, Bon Jovi, Motley Crue, was hired as the producer. Metallica, also known as the Black Album, was remixed 3 times. It cost $500,000 and ended 3 marriages. Although the release was stalled until 1991, Metallica debuted as number 1 in 10 countries, selling 650,000 units in the United States. During the first week, the album was responsible for bringing Metallica to the attention of the mainstream, and it's certified 16 times platinum in the United States, which makes it the 25th best-selling album in the country. The making of Metallica and the following tour was documented in a year and a half. The life of Metallica, dubbed the Wherever We May Roam tour, lasted 14 months and included dates in the United States, Japan, and the UK. In 1992, Metallica appeared on the Freddie Mercury tribute concert, performing a three-song set. Hetfield later performed Stone Cold Crazy with the remaining members of Queen and Tony Iommi on August 8th, 1992, during a headlining Guns N' Roses Metallica Stadium 2, Hetfield suffered second and third degree burns to his arms, face, hands, and legs. There was a confusion with the new pyrotechnic setup, which resulted with Hetfield's walk into a 12-foot flame during Fade to Black. Newsted recalls that Hetfield's skin was bubbling like on the Toxic Avenger. Guitarist technician John Marshall, who had previously filled in the rhythm guitar, was now playing in Metal Church, who replaced Hetfield for the remainder of the tour, as Hetfield was able to play guitar, although he was able to sing. Later in 1993, Metallica went on the Nowhere Else to Rome tour, playing 5 shows in Mexico City. The band's first box set was released in November 93, called Live Shit, Binge and Purge. The collection contained 3 live CDs, 3 home videos, and a book filled with riders and letters. No album in history has ever divided metal fans as much as Metallica's Black Album. Most purists will agree that all their later album are crap, with a few Death Magnetic fans here and there. I actually like Death Magnetic. It's got like an hour and a half playing time on the whole album, which is insane. It sounds like the album in between Justice for All and the Black Album, and a lot of people will agree with that. And that all their previous albums are great, but the Black Album seems to be the cause of endless debates. And while it is pretty flawed and does have a bit too much mainstream appeal for its own good, Black is good for the occasional listen if you keep an open mind. I actually think the production is very, very well done. It obviously is a bit more pop-oriented, but it suits the material being recorded here. The bass has been sidelined once again, something that has happened on seemingly every Metallica release since Cliff died. And while that is disappointing, most of the other aspects are great. Lars' drums have an immensely satisfying crash feel that make the Black Album great for air drumming, which I do a lot of time. I used to do that a lot in school. I think we all did. The guitar tones are pretty cleaned up in a bit on some tracks, but still sounds pretty consistently good and doesn't spray too dramatically from the metal tones of previous Metallica classics. Instrumentation isn't nearly as impressive as previous efforts. James plays some memorable, if not very complex riffs. Lars still hasn't quite found the balance between not enough fills and too many unnecessary fills. And Kirk's solos would be great if not for him violating the wah pedal. I cursed the day he discovered that godforsaken thing. James' voice sounds a little worn, but he can still roar on some of the Black Album's stronger tracks. One problem I have with his vocals here is the lack of subtlety. He sounds somewhat out of his element on softer offerings like The Unforgiven and Nothing Else Matters. What Happened to the Haunting, James from Fade to Black or One. Songwriting is another aspect of the Black Album that every Metallica diehards will roast on an open fire, and unfortunately they're not entirely wrong. The writing here is a lot weaker than the acid-tongued political fire of the previous offering and Justice for All. Most of the songs are over-the-top attempts of being dark and mysterious. Enter Sandman, Misguided, oh so potent, quiet tracks, Nothing Else Matters. It's just pretty put-downs. Holier Than Thou, with a special mention going into the hilariously overwrote patriotic lyrics of Don't Tread on Me. Now most of these songs do rock and are fun to listen to, but writing is probably the weakest link in the Black Album. So now let's look at the tracks that stand out. For better or for worse, my favorite track on the album is a bit of a tough call, and it comes down to Of Wolf and Man and My Friend of Misery. Note that I didn't even mention Enter Sandman because my favorite, yet everyone else will go crazy for that song and it gets way too much airplay, which is why I don't like it. The former is a pretty standard example of the petty put-downs I mentioned before, but it is definitely the best written of the put-down songs on the Black Album, and it has some great dark moments. However, if I had a choice to choose, this one goes to the God that failed, just for how amazingly well it is written. James sings about the loss of his mother and feels scorned by God. The track that has balance and subtlety that the album's other emotional tracks sorely lack. Some other honorable mentions go to Through the Never, Holier Than Thou, Don't Tread on Me. I know I poked fun at the last two, but they're still great fun at their core. The weakest track is definitely The Unforgiven, which feels like a hair bringer for Black. The Black album's got awful follow-up load. So overall, I'd also say the Black album is ultimately a winner. Yes, it is a sellout for sure, but at least it was a good sellout album. Is it one of the history books? No. However, I do leave you with this piece of advice. The Black album has some great singles, but the true strength of the LP is in its deep cuts. If you can get past the commercial desperation this album is permitted with, I recommend to listen. I've never seen Metallica live. I missed my chance when they played at Sold Out Air Canada Centre in Toronto back in 2008 for the Death Magnetic tour. And guess who played or opened up for them, which was Lamb of God, my all-time favorite metal band. And I kept the Black album kept me occupied during boring times, rough times, and times when I was laying in bed with an MP3 player, not being able to sleep before the thought of an iPod was even invented. I've seen Megadeth though twice, and once in 2011 or 2010, I should say, at the Molson Amphitheatre, right on Lake Ontario in Toronto, and again in my hometown of Oshawa at the new General Motors Centre. And so I've always been a Dave Mustaine fan instead of a James Hetfield guy. I like Dave's riffs and songs and his lyrical approach to his songs. But I'm not a die-hard Megadeth fan. I like both Megadeth and Metallica, and would love to see the leg of the Big Four come to America. Most people either like Metallica or they like Megadeth, but in my case, I like both. I'm just on the fence. I don't have a side. I don't have a favorite. They're both good bands. And with that, this concludes my history on Metallica and my review of the Black Album. So thanks for listening. Please subscribe, because I do post at least one video a day. Usually it's around 3 videos a day. I know this video is already long enough, but I'll just close with that. Thank you.